So I'm back from Dragon Con, and I've got a pretty bad cold, which I've got a theory about. It could be witches, some evil witches. Specifically, it could be Amber Benson, who had a cold.
I've lost my voice, so I apologize for sounding like Kathleen Turner out of Bender.
And I hugged her for a photo op. It's nice when celebrities will share something personal with their fans, right? Anyway, I wanted to share this scale I've been working on to best analyze BDSM-related fiction according to a series of different levels of fantasy. I suspect I'll have to make some changes as I continue to review BDSM fiction, but for now, this is what I have. Level 1. The story is verisimilar and involves a character encountering BDSM that may or may not become involved with it. Examples include Bones, Weeds, and Castle. Level 2 has the story be verisimilar and involve a character getting involved with BDSM and having unrealistic relations that fulfill the author's fantasies, while staying within the confines of reasonable behavior. Examples include the book Exit to Eden, Nana and Kauru's S&M Diary. Mostly, it's partially level 3, which has the story be verisimilar and involve a character getting involved with BDSM and having unrealistic relations that fulfill the author's fantasies without staying within the confines of reasonable behavior. Examples include 50 Shades of Grey and Secretary. Level 4 has the story be fantastic and BDSM not clearly defined, so submissive characters encounter controlling dominance in abusive scenarios. Yet there is plenty of BDSM imagery, whips, collars, black leather, the kind of stuff that people popularly associate with BDSM, to indicate to the consumer of such media that they're watching a BDSM fantasy. Examples include a lot of vampire stuff, including True Blood. Finally, Level 5 has a story be fantastic and BDSM not clearly defined, where submissive characters encounter controlling dominance in abusive scenarios, but without BDSM imagery or other indications that the author has an understanding of BDSM. Unless this is presented simply as an over-the-top fantasy, as with a lot of ecchi manga, this kind of story can be problematic and worthy of criticism. Examples include Twilight and Atlas Shrugged. I will often encounter feminist criticisms of BDSM fiction where my go-to response is, it's just a fantasy. But there is a problem in the different kinds of fantasy that make it hard to communicate effectively. 50 Shades of Grey often falls under fire for having a creepy dom by people who expect a level 1 fantasy. But as a level 3 fantasy, it's more just a submissive fantasy than with the level 5 Twilight, which may resonate with submissives, but as Stephanie Meyer gives no indication of understanding BDSM and how it relates to her fantasy, it is more problematic that Bella just devotes her life to the creepy vampire Edward, and that this is all cast as a beautiful romance. The similar vampire fantasy True Blood is different because it is level 4, and the vampire bar Fantasia is decked out like a BDSM tourist trap, making the "Suke is mine" stuff readily come across as a BDSM fantasy and not just an abusive scenario that would deserve more criticism at the higher levels 1 and 2. Arguably, the goal should be to have decent BDSM fiction mostly occupy levels 1 and 2, but sex sells and sex motivates writers, so we will see a lot in the deeper levels of fantasy. So those are my thoughts on the BDSM levels of fantasy. If anyone has any suggestions to refine it, please share them below.